youtube.com/Geek Aloud. This is episode 99, the return of Ace. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, mate, loving this number 2 spot because I get to look down on Bully. How are you doing down there, Bully? You doing all right?
I'm doing all right, but as you know, it's the broad shoulders that keep you two clans up. And I don't know, are we going to get into this debate again? Which one's the more meatier and musclier out of the two of you and Unky that I have to broaden the shoulders for?
Oh, look out! There's a flex.
Where is Unky? Is he around? Nah, there you go, Unky. I've been doing a little bit of work inspired by your magnificent physique, so I've been putting in the time and effort because I want to catch up. You know, I've got a little bit more of this going on, but I think you can catch that. So obviously, most of my work's all from the chest up.
Oh, I've just got to jump in there. I think YouTube's just shut us down after that.
Might have to start an OnlyFans page now.
And Bully, welcome, sir. Third slotting it as always.
Yeah, great day. Not every day that you get a new console release, so we'll chat about that shortly. But certainly some excitement for that one.
That we shall. Let's get on duty, shall we? This is us. We're here. We have 5 games, and then we'll be for games, interrogations, deliberation, and then we're kicking in the newsroom door. Bully, how many doors are we kicking in this evening?
We're going to smash down 4 tonight, Troy.
Look out, and then to cap it all off, who is the number 1 target in Most Wanted? No, don't tell me now, but that'll come up next. That is, of course, the most anticipated game for the week. And then, Bully, assuming you're prepared to go on patrol in their YouTube chat all evening, knocking them off as we go. But if you don't, or if one gets through, the final segment, of course, no, not games interrogation, it's viewer interrogation.
Happy to jump in there, but Troy, if you keep using terms like knocking it off and then Ace showing his bulbous physique there, we certainly will be having to move over to OnlyFans by the end of the night.
I hear it's very profitable, so just so you know, I'm here. I
also
have quite lovely feet.
Oh, look out! There's some OnlyFans exclusive content right there. Boys, let's get into games, interrogation, and deliberation. First up this evening, Bully, you've already alluded to it, sir. Take us away. Your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions on the PlayStation 5 Pro, sir.
Yeah, so as I said, released today. I think it's being in Australia. I think we're one of the first ones that have got access to it. So I was there at 5 minutes past the opening of the store to make sure I was more or less first in line. And there was actually a few coming and going from the shop with the console under their arm. So it'd be interesting to see how much interest there is in totality for it. But certainly, I was surprised to see, I reckon, at least a dozen in the 5 or 10 minutes I was in the shop. So I was saying to Ace before the show that when it got announced that the orders or the pre-orders went up, I was sort of umming and ahhing about it, and went and placed a pre-order and thought, oh, well, at least it's there, it's done. I managed to get, as you can see up over my shoulder there, I did manage to get the disc drive, which has become somewhat difficult to get, and I think in a lot of places you still can't get them. So I did manage to get that. Are you going to hold on
to it, Bully, or are you going to flog it off for an extra $600?
Well, it recoups some of the costs. But no, I need it because all my games are physical. I can't play. For those that aren't aware, the Pro comes as the standard is no disc drive. So if I had bought the Pro with no disc drive, I wouldn't have been playing much. So I did need to get that one. Luckily, I was able to get my hands on it, and then went down. It was funny because I was a bit ho-hum about it to start with, and not really excited about it. But as generally happens with new releases, especially console releases, the closer you get to the date, the more excited you get, to the point where I actually took today off work and went down to the shops as they opened and got the disc drive and the console and rushed back home. And
I hope you didn't call in a sickie, mate, because you might have just admitted that one publicly.
It was an audio, mate. Come on, move on. I got your back, Bully. Don't worry.
Thanks, man. Someone's trying to create mischief for me. But it's quite funny because I think I took probably 10 or 15 minutes to take the plates off. I put the disc drive on. I took my old expansion M.2 drive out of the base model PS5, threw that straight in there. That was all up and easy enough to do. As I said, probably 10, 15 minutes to get all that done, plugged it in, and away it goes.
And sorry, just to drill in a little bit. So it worked 100%. You just transferred the expansion drive over, turned on the PS5, and it just saw it all. It was all there. No weird process.
No weird process at all. The only thing is with the disk drive, it has to register it online. So if you don't have an online connection, that might be an issue. But if you do, I think most of us now have an online connection in some way, shape, or form. It just needs to log it and attach it to that particular console. What it doesn't do when you put in the M.2 drive, it doesn't automatically bring up all the games on that cross media bar at the top. But if you go into your collection, it's all there. Every game you had installed on that drive is there. You can then select them, and as soon as you open them and start playing it, it transfers it back across to the cross media bar. So really easy experience to do all that. It's, a lot of people will be upgrading from the base model. So in terms of ease of transferring all your stuff there, that was easy enough. The save game storage, if you've got cloud storage, that was easy enough. I just made sure last night that all my save states were uploaded to the cloud, and then as soon as you plug a game in, it just downloads it, takes you. You don't even notice it's happening. It happens that quick, and then you jump into the game. It's got all your save data there. So that was sort of my initial experience with it, and then I've pretty much spent most of today
mopping up the drool.
A little bit of that, but just basically disk swapping. So
just drool.
Only fans, here we go.
Basically just disk swapping, and I think the longest I spent playing one particular game was maybe 15-20 minutes, just jumping between them all. So I went through Dragon Age Veilguard, which is a game we'll speak about shortly. Jump back to Resident Evil 4. I've jumped into, just having a look over there. I was still waiting for Gran Turismo. That's a massive install, so I'm waiting for that one to
172 gig.
Waiting for that one to jump in. But overall, I'm really pleased with it. It's one of those things that I think unless you've got them side by side, you probably don't notice in most instances. But there's some, like for instance, Dragon Age. I could tell as soon as you fire that up that it's got basically the easiest way to describe it is on the base model PS4, you can either choose performance mode, which is a higher frames per second with a lower graphical quality, or you can choose the quality mode, which lowers the frame rate, but obviously makes it look better. Did
it make it easier? Like, was it updating pronouns quicker?
If
I've heard there's a few, just like, I'm assuming there's a load time sort of something like Veilguard. So I'm hoping like that it's sort of been able to upgrade the ability and the speed to load those pronouns up, because
the only speed would have been me taking it back to the shop.
I've got a question. Sorry, and I'm just going to interject for a moment here just to say I also picked up the PS5 Pro today, did the world's first Let's Install video for Bully Help Me Out. Thank you. Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster, the $15.01 upgrade there. So that's available on the channel, and I put about 20 minutes into it, and that's the only time I had on the PS5 Pro today. So I'm keen to drill in. But my question for you, Billy, was on the performance enhancements, because I jumped through, those initial menus, and me, I don't really read a whole lot and just button through. But what wasn't clear to me is now, like if you're on the PS5 Pro, if you select performance mode, is that now targeting 120 frames a second instead of 60?
No, I think it's targeting 60 unless there's specific titles that will be patched. So
very good.
I think off the top of my head, Gran Turismo might be one of those that's trying to punch 120, and Apex Legends, I think, might be another one.
Mm-hmm.
So there is titles that are trying to hit that, but basically what it's doing is combining the graphical setting and the performance setting into one mode in most instances. With some of the games, there's other tweaks you can make as well, but in basic terms, that's what it's doing, is putting those two together, so you're getting the performance with the graphical settings. And for me, having played most of the games recently with the performance setting, having that melded together and still maintaining that, but you're getting the graphical increase, to me, a lot of those games look fantastic. So you talked about Horizon. That looked amazing when I was playing that. Dragon Age, as I said, looked fantastic. See some of the games punching through on the screen there. I know Unky, I was talking to him before. He had thrown in Final Fantasy Rebirth, said that one looked amazing as well. So it's certainly there. That it is noticeable that what you can see from the base model, but ultimately how much better, I suppose, as you said, it's you got to sort of put them side by side to see how they're going and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, thanks.
Not to sound noobish, but like I'm imagining a lot of this stuff and a lot of the upgrades and stuff, even if you're targeting 120, it's all going to be pending on the TV that you have. And so unless you've got like sort of that next gen TV after sort of the QLEDs now, which the 8Ks, I think they're coming out now. Do you think that sort of maybe you're really not seeing like the full results and the full power of what this PlayStation can actually do until you've sort of upgraded into that next gen?
I reckon so. So my TV's about 6 years old, and it's probably missing some of the newer features. So, and I know we were discussing that before, Ray. So I think that'll probably be the next investment is the new TV. But certainly, you know, I think there's Gran Turismo and there's one of the Formula One games. I think both of those.
F123, I believe.
Yeah, so both of those can do 8K if you've got the TV for it. So as you said, a lot of it depends on the quality of what you're displaying it on ultimately. So you talk about 160, but a lot of 120 frames. A lot of TVs, unless you're getting sort of top of the line sort of stuff, still sitting at around that 60. So that's not going to really impact as well. So that's probably the next move. And I would imagine that if you paired a fairly new TV with the Pro, that you'd see some that would be a lot more noticeable than just going from an older TV from the base to the Pro. But it's one of those things. It's a hefty price tag on it. It's is it worth the extra performance and the extra graphical quality that you get out of it for the price? I suppose that's for every individual to judge as to what they like. But at the end of the day, it's something I'm really keen on, and you know, a major hobby. So you know, there's people that'll spend thousands of dollars on other hobbies, you know, push bikes and fishing equipment and gambling and all that sort of stuff.
OnlyFans.
I see it as just part of the progression through wanting to have some of the newer equipment and the newer consoles. And you know, I've been a day one purchaser for consoles for probably 20 years now. So it's for me, it's probably a no-brainer. For others, will look at the price tag and think, no, that's not worth it. I'll wait another couple of years till the PS6 comes out, or the new Xbox, or the Switch, whenever we see that.
From my point of view, the best thing so far, as I said, I've only really spent 20 minutes in game, 30 minutes all up with the console. The thing I love the most so far, and it's ridiculous, but it's that 2 terabyte built-in internal storage. That is so nice. I'm throwing Gran Turismo at it. I'm throwing The Last of Us 1 and 2 at it. Throwing everything I can at it that's PS5 Pro enhanced in my library, and it's just, yep, no worries. Keep sending me data.
Yeah, I agree. And then throwing that with so I've got the 2 terabyte expansion drive as well. So that punches up to 4. And I'm the same. Like, you know, I sort of get annoyed at having to, you know, you come home, you get a new game, throw it in the disk drive, and then go, oh, you need to make space.
Yeah,
you need to make space. It's just the constant battle, I suppose. But
inventory management, some might say.
Well, it's almost like you're saying that Sony could have just put a 2 terabyte hard drive into the original PS5. Is that? Don't talk about the war. Sorry.
Well, they could have put a 4 terabyte one in this one. I don't.
No. I don't know a lot about computers, but I've seen the size of these like RAM chips and these memory chips, and they're like about this big. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you guys could have just chucked an extra one in there. But anyway, no worries. I'll delete games.
I suppose the funny thing is, and this is probably where the criticism comes, is you're supplying the console without a disk drive. So by default, you're really pushing consumers into that digital marketplace. And I know that's where a lot of people are heading anyway. But if that's where you're pushing it, but you're limiting the capacity of the drives, and to have that constant churn and the deleting and reinstalling and all the rest of it, obviously the bigger the drive, the more digital items that you're going to be pushing people to purchase from the store, you need a bigger drive. And I would have thought that would have been one of the key things that they would have pushed for, is a much larger, you know, don't get me wrong, 2 terabytes is fantastic. compared to, I think the usable space on the original one was about 700 meg or something similar to that.
It was one,
I
but
think
yeah,
it was
after all the hard drive.
820 gig from memory.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. So, significantly boosted from that, but still, you mentioned it before, Troy, like Gran Turismo's 150 plus, the new Call of Duty's 150 plus.
Or 400 if you install it with the default settings, including the last 3 years' games, the Muppets. 400 gigabytes, no extra platinum trophy.
Like stuff like that, but that's 2 games that you're looking at 300 plus gig to install on your hard drive. So that's, by the time you take out even the 2 terabyte one, by the time you take out system storage and information, save states, all the rest of it, you're looking at 15-ish, 20% of your hard drive on 2 games. So that's really where I would have probably liked to have seen them push the boundaries on what they gave you. In terms of some of the other stuff, I think, again, it's up for each individual, but I've watched some comparison videos and some videos that have really gone hard into the tech of it, and they've sort of said that, well, the CPU probably, that they're questioning why that's not an upgrade on the base model, which is pretty much the same. They put the money into the GPU, they put it into the AI system that they've got in there, and some other areas as well. So I suppose that the reality is, if you're wanting all that top line, top of the tree sort of stuff, you're not looking at 700 US or 1100 Australian. You're looking at well over 1,000 US, and then you're getting into top of the line PC style sort of stuff. So I suppose you've got to marry that up if you're Sony, just to sort of say, well, we want to give you as much as we can, but we can't. We've got to be mindful of the price as well, because that 700 US price has got a lot of people talking on the initial release that they were shocked at how high that was. Given what's in there, I don't think it's too bad, but it's always that sticker shock when it first comes out, especially in the console market.
Yeah, absolutely. My final question for this, and then we'll move on to game 2. Bully, did you by chance check out Astrobot? Have they dropped today's patch, upgrade, call it what you will? Did it include the PS5 Pro 30th anniversary, in-game 3D object?
No, I haven't checked it out. But as a side note, with the new tab that you have on the home screen, where
the
you
welcome
can set
tab?
up, the welcome tab, where you can set up your widgets and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you can change the background on that tab. They've dropped a new one for the PS5 Pro in as well, which is an animated backdrop for that. Just out of,
I'll be doing that straight after
out of
the
interest
show,
as well. So there you go. There's something they've thrown as a bit of celebration for the release.
Nice work. Thank you. All right, guys, moving on to game 2. Ace, the World Series has just finished. Of course, the Dodgers came out on top. The footage here you're seeing is off the PS5, and it was the final game 5. Oh, 6. Game 5? 6? Oh, God, I'm blown. Game 5. Thank you, mate. Of the World Series, and it was, of course, me pitching as the Dodgers here. But, Ace, over to you for the lead investigation of this fantastic game.
Yeah, look, I'm not the biggest supporter of buying new games every year, but this one popped up for free. I think it was on the PlayStation Store. Correct me if I was wrong.
Yeah.
So I felt obliged to sort of partake into it, and I was very impressed with sort of the upgrades. A lot of the stuff, that probably the nuances of it, just the infield, how the fields look, how the players reacted, how the players moved, was sort of a big upgrade. It still sort of kept a lot of the same sort of celebrations, the same running up the lines, home run celebrations, all that sort of stuff. It was very sort of repetitive from the previous game, but like I felt like the biggest upgrades were probably just in the field and how the game sort of felt and how the game sort of moved. I've usually just played my player, where I've created a player who has a big mullet, and he looks something like what's that guy? Kenny Powers. Looks a lot like Kenny Powers. This year I went with a catcher, but I've actually started stretching out into franchise mode, and sort of been quietly enjoying that. And a difficulty level that I didn't sort of realise, because I've just been playing on easy, because I just like my player hitting 356 dingers during the regular season and getting multiple MVPs. But I went on that dynamic batting mode. So I don't know if you've been playing that, Troy, with the dynamic sort of difficulty level, where the sort of the game, which I was quite impressed with, as you sort of progress through the game naturally starts to go, okay, you're ready to go to this level. And then if you start falling back, it will drop you back. And there's sort of shades of level. So I've been really enjoying that because I sort of maybe felt like it was a little bit stale in sort of the aspect that I was just winning, and then if I went up a difficulty, I was just getting smashed. But so I switched it over to dynamic, and it was sort of very easy and sort of fundamentally just focusing on sort of where I was at, and the game was sort of progressively making me play the game at a higher level and sort of choose my sort of pitches. Whereas in my
wait,
first
if I can jump in, sorry, just briefly. I just want to touch on the dynamic batting you were talking about.
Yep.
I did play with it for a little bit, but it killed my old man thumbs to, move the left stick for the strike zone to move the bat. So I had to flick it back to the face buttons. I agree with your point. It's a fantastic feature. It's just a physical limitation that I can't indulge. Sorry, mate, back to you.
It's look, and someone who plays a lot of these American sports games, NBA 2Ks and Madden NFLs, and even the college games, it's not something that these other sporting games have that sort of adapt to you and play to your sort of level of play and sort of work out how you are playing and then sort of change its style. So from an adaptive standpoint, I thought it was absolutely a fantastic setting that it has, and I've sort of really been thoroughly enjoying the additional challenge that it does, but it doesn't push me beyond my means. It's always keeping me in that thereabouts mode. Something that I don't know, and I could be wrong, and please don't, slander me for this one on the previous games, but I always felt like I didn't really want to pitch. I'm a hitter when we play baseball. Me and Troy play baseball. So I always felt like I've always felt much more comfortable just in the batter's box, but then the game made you pitch. But now I've just discovered, and I could be wrong, it might have been previous things, you can actually skip through the pitching, so you can just play the batting. So I've been
to your point, this year is the first year I've noticed it, but I've never gone looking for it before. But you're 100% correct. It's definitely new to me this year. I'd put even money on that it was a new feature. Back to you.
Yeah, very much. Like, there's all of a sudden where I don't have, if I want to go and play a game of baseball and just play as the hitting side, I like the idea of playing against the computer and having it on that dynamic mode, meaning the computer's always testing me going, all right, and I've had a few games where we've come down to the final 2 or 3 innings, and all of a sudden I'm down by 1 or 2 runs, and now I've sort of got to make sure that I'm selecting the right pitches to hit at. So I've been really enjoying sort of all those aspects of the game. Obviously, I don't really follow many teams, but I follow the Dodgers, so this has been a big win for me on that one. And but at the moment, I've gone with the Oakland Athletics. That's the team I've chose because they have the smallest budget in the MLB. But I still managed to get Shohei. I've managed to get Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts, and been thoroughly winner. I think I'm on a 25-6 win streak. So it's definitely been the best MLB game that I've played so far. So I'm really appreciating all this sort of upgrades and little nuanced things that they've added to it.
Yeah, it's brilliant, man. This is the first MLB The Show I've ever platinum, mate. Are you on the platinum hunt for this one? Are you slowly working?
Nah, because you messaged me during the week. Oh, you one of the medals trophies you had to get was stealing home, and I've tried multiple times, and I cannot steal home. So I don't know how you did it, and I'm gonna have to come around to your joint one stage, and you're gonna show me how to do it.
All right, mate. Game on. I love the sound of it. For me, 2 big thumbs up. I'm going to be pushing hard. Bully, heads up. Come game of the year time, this game is going to be getting a big push from my side. Any thoughts or points from your side, Bully, or shall we move along?
No, you can move along. Move along.
All right. Game 3, it's me with Vampire Survivors. Now, note, this is just me popping the platinum in Vampire Survivors after 81 hours into it, but that's not really what we're here to talk about today, being platinum. What we are talking about is the recently released...
That's exactly what you're here to talk about.
Yeah, I feel like that might have just been slid in there. It's like a little slide. Get that one in there.
I happen to know the bloke who edits the footage. What can I say? Yeah. What we're doing is the released last week. It was like an hour after we went off air last week. Vampire Survivors Ode to Castlevania. You can see it on screen now. So it's all the characters, it's the castles, it's everything you know and love from Castlevania in the Vampires Survivors format. For me, give me a new map any day of the week and I'm there for it. But it's absolutely phenomenal. There are so many challenges. And when you unlock or finish in your mind the base game, they promise, now I'm stretching the memory bank. I think they promise 10 unlockable characters and, God, now I can't remember the other one. It was 10 unlockable characters and I want to say 20 hours worth of gameplay challenges. But you do that, and then as soon as you roll credits, quote unquote, on the DLC, the whole thing doubles there's another 10 characters unlocked, and there's another 20 hours worth of challenges. So for the entry price of Bully stretching here, is it $7? $7.50? No, that's the main game.
No,
I
it was
think
like,
it was $3.25, maybe.
Yeah, $3 or $4.
Yeah, $3 or $4. You're getting, so much good, more Vampire Survivors content. I absolutely love it. I don't need to bang on about it anymore. Ace, your thoughts on Vampire Survivors? Have you played it? Does it interest you?
Mate, in the age of PS5 Pros, come on, man, I'm going to need a little bit more than this, just a little bit more high tense graphics, but 2D pixel art. Come on, mate, come on. I was just playing. I've been replaying Red Dead Redemption 2, so I'm enjoying watching the grass flow individually. So something like this, I need a little bit more.
God, you haven't gone hands on with it, have you? I'm speaking to a person who's never enjoyed it themselves.
Fair comment.
Bully, any thoughts from you, mate? Was Castlevania you back in the day? You're keen to check out the Vampire Survivors iteration of it?
Keen to have, and playing through the first sort of, I guess, the exploration of the castle. So you've, one interesting feature that I did find with this is that it's not, so in the base game, you basically got your 30 minutes to roll around the map and try and find what you can find and all the rest of it. Whereas this one, you can actually, as you're progressing through the castle, you can actually find basically warp doors.
Yep.
So that when you restart at the start, you don't have to then battle your way through that whole section of the castle again. You can go through the warp door, which is right near the start, and it takes you near enough back to where you finished the last run. So
there's 4 of those warp doors. By the time you get all the way through to the end of the castle, you've unlocked 4 of them.
Well, there you go. I think I've got 3. So hopefully not too far away. But that's made it really interesting for me, rather than sort of going, I've just done a run, I've died, now I've got to go all the way back to the start, level myself up and try and push through again. I've really enjoyed that part of it. That's been fantastic. Even there's a couple of sections in there where you can see on the screen there, it's obviously top down. You go and you fight some of the bosses. It then reverts to a 2D style side scroller.
Yes,
for a couple of the bosses, which I thought was the first time it happened. I'm going, what's going on here? And then I couldn't work out how to beat the boss because he just kept shooting stuff at you. And I'm going, well, how do you get around this? Well, you can jump in those sections.
Yes.
And you do this little flip jump sort of thing. So even little gameplay changes like that have been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. It's I think I've said to you before, it's one of those games that that I'll play maybe 3 or 4 rounds. And as I said, the rounds go for about 30 minutes, 3 or 4 rounds a week. And you jump in, you have your 30 minutes, and then you sort of go, all right, no worries. I'll be back in a couple of days, and then you move on to your next sort of game. It's almost like an end of the night sort of. I'm not quite ready for bed. I'm not quite ready to finish up, but I've the AAA game that I'm into at the moment. I just need a break from, or I need a bit of change of pace, whatever it is. It's one of those sort of
palate cleansers.
Yeah, almost. And I've really enjoyed it. And for your info, Ace, I think if you got the base game plus all the expansions, including the Castlevania, you get change out of $20. And it's well worth the price. It looks fun. It looks sort of janky. I get the sprite sort of graphics and all the rest of it, but I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone that's played more than one round of it that hasn't gone, this is amazing. And especially when you first start playing it, it's one more. If I do this, I'll get some more money. I can buy that. I'll last longer and get to the next level. It's one of those games that it just keeps sucking you back in time and time again.
That's right, it does, mate. And on screen right now is that boss fight you were talking about, where they've introduced the jump button, and you've got old mate there, your shadow or whatever you call him. What is it? Dracula backwards is the other bloke. I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, I love it. 2 massive thumbs up from me. Bully, I know we said it a few weeks ago. You were not going to allow Vampire Survivors into our Game of the Year discussions as it was originally released, 22 or something? Do you think I can get over the line that we can add the Ode to Castlevania into the Game of the Year nomination list? No, all right, hard pass. You're a hard man to please, Bully. I'm not. 2 Vampire Survivors, 2 big thumbs up. All right, over to you, Bully, now for 1, interesting game. Dragon Age, the Veilguard. Pull back the veil, Bully. Tell us things. You're the only one that's gone hands-on.
It's interesting. This is one of the. This is a game from BioWare that was stuck in development hell. I think it was in development for over or close to a decade. The previous game we had, Dragon Age Inquisition, was 2014, I think.
Yep.
And then the intervening period between this release and that one was some pretty spectacular failures on BioWare's behalf.
Anthem.
Anthem was one of them. Why am I blanking at the moment?
Andromeda?
Yeah, Andromeda.
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect Andromeda was quite clearly not well received and full of bugs. So for purists of what BioWare do, this is sort of really getting back to the base of what they do really well. It's the storytelling, it's the gameplay, and that's sort of where this sort of sits. It's, for me though, it's really got me on the fence in a couple of regards. So the main one is the character modeling is bizarrely basic. You look at the face modeling, and when they're talking, their lips and the voice acting doesn't match anywhere near close to the animation. And quite often you'll just have an open mouth and then words coming out, and you sort of go, "Oh, this doesn't look good."
That sounds very immersion breaking.
It does a little bit, but that's just one aspect. When you're actually in the game and playing it, the action RPG elements are, in my opinion, fantastic. You've got your party with you, the way they work that in. So you've got you can use the triggers, left and right triggers, to bring up menus that you can use your companions to do bonus moves. You've got dodging, blocking, timing, all that's parrying, all that sort of stuff in there as well. To me, the gameplay is where it really shines, and that's you can see on screen there. That's what they bring up, where you can use your companion's attributes. And what you can actually, one interesting element with that is that you can actually, with the two companions that I've got at the moment, you can have one of them use one of their skills, which then marries up to the skill of another companion, and you can do one after the other. They combine them. So there's one that I just got recently where basically one of them will, in essence, freeze the enemy, and then your second companion will then throw an explosion at it and explode them. So
nice.
That sort of looks really good. And in terms of the pro, like we were talking about before, the world setting for mine is really where it sits as well. Like the world is amazing to look at. The pro version of it, this is probably the one game that I put in the first hour or so that I've gone, wow, that I can 100% see and tell the difference between the two. The lighting effects in some of the areas are absolutely stunning. The world view and the objects and items off in the distance look fantastic. It's just that one, the biggest letdown is just that facial animations. Otherwise, everything else for mine is back to that fantastic BioWare that we got with Dragon Age, the original Dragon Ages, the original Mass Effects, and that's really I suppose that's why I'm really torn, because in one respect you sort of look at it, and I think I joked to you and maybe Unky as well that it almost looks like an early PS4 game sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's got the gameplay that goes with it when you didn't have those graphical developments and the advancements that we've got now, where you were really relying on that gameplay. And this is, to mine, you sacrifice a little bit of that to get this fantastic gameplay. And I'm really enjoying it. It's not an open world RPG. You sort of get put into an area and then you've got a section to work through, but it's not overly
a biome.
It's not a biome. We don't do biomes. It's not really. It's sort of linear, but at the same time, there's secrets and different sections within that you can explore and find and use different puzzle solving to find different areas and that sort of stuff. So the gameplay for me is where it's at. And if you're going to sacrifice a little bit of the and it's not even the graphical settings overall. It's just really that, as I mentioned a couple of times, it's that character and facial animation is probably the biggest downfall. If you're going to sacrifice that a little bit for the gameplay that you get with it, I'm prepared to accept that sometimes. And as you said, it can be a little bit immersion breaking sometimes looking at these, almost clay-faced characters. But you get past that. I'm really enjoying it. I know there's been a bit of criticism and what have you, but I've enjoyed it. I think talking to Unky offline, he's been enjoying it as well. So I think I nominated it last week in response to your most wanted upcoming game, that this was mine, in the hope that we'd get some vintage BioWare, which I for mine I think we got. I'm really enjoying it.
Excellent.
Is
First
there
question. Oh, sorry, guys.
Is there a weird thing, and I might be mispronouncing the species, the Kunari, I think it is, the horned ones?
Yeah, that's the main character that I'm playing as.
So, and going back, and I played obviously the original and number 2, which I quite liked. Inquisition, I just didn't get quite into, but they had more of a sort of, I don't know, like an animalistic look to them. And then, I feel like in this version, they've made them sort of almost humanized in a weird way. I don't quite get that whole why they changed the facial expressions. Is that something that you've noticed? Is that something that you've picked up on? I feel like they've almost kind of tried to make them a little bit sexy sort of thing. Is that?
I don't know if they've gone that. I don't know if that's the route. I think it's more just as I keep saying, it's that character modeling, and even if you break it down, it's basically a human face that's purple with horns.
Yeah, I know.
That's exactly what it looks like, and I think that's whether they haven't spent the time or the money or the development into it, and they put it into other areas and left the character modeling, haven't put as much into that maybe that's where we then end up with that sort of fall off in that. But I agree with you. The actual race, I think you could have expanded that and made it a lot more animalistic than what it was even previously. And again, that's a letdown for the game.
Yeah. Was there a specific patch release for the PS5 Pro today, Bully, or is this just whatever the most recent patch was running significantly better with no specific patch?
I think it's just I don't think there was a patch when I flung it over to the Pro, because it only released 5-6 days ago.
Yeah.
I think it was already pre-prepped and ready.
Yeah,
when the Pro dropped. So, and unfortunately, that hasn't really lifted the facial animations, the PS5 Pro.
My final question on this one is there much whinging going on from a narrative standpoint?
No, to be honest with you.
Excellent.
No, there's the characters I've really enjoyed so far. They've got a good mix. It has that classic BioWare character development where whatever decision you make and the conversation choices that you make then influence how other characters respond to you in the long term.
Yep.
And even with that, I haven't really come across anything where you've sort of said something to someone and then they start whining about what you've said or what you've done or whatever it is. It's all been sort of it's all been pretty good so far. No. Yeah. Although having said that, I will mention, as you said before, Ace, the character creation when it male, female, non-binary, and I've gone, I think we had this conversation last week. Yeah. I get it, but
look, from my aspect and what I've seen and what I've read, and all for inclusivity and stuff like that. But sometimes I feel like sometimes they may be trying to push the message very hard. And I feel like this is almost BioWare have made a staple in that sort of sense where they're trying to push this. And I know there's a lot of cutscenes in this where they sort of mention a lot of that stuff, and it's really at the forefront of something that they're trying to get across. So I wonder whether they, seeing some of the Steam numbers that they got to, whether they probably have excluded a lot of their gamer base just based on that they were sort of selling a message and pushing a message across to sort of everyone. And then maybe that sort of affected I know that Steam, I think it hit 88,000, for instance. Wukong Black Myth, I think hit 2.5 million via Steam player. So it's a weird one because I know that sort of it's a fine line that everyone's sort of walking. So it's an interesting.
Well, it's funny you mention that though, because apart from the character creation where you make your character choice, I haven't run into anything where it's shoved it down my throat. It's actually been, and granted, I'm only about 10 or 12 hours into it, so that there might be stuff coming down the pipeline. I'm not sure, but it's actually been mildly refreshing to the point where I've taken it from what you said before, Ace, is you have that character creation. You can create your character however you want. You can include people however you want. But as soon as you start the game and you start playing through the story, it just sort of goes, okay, well, at the end of the day, it's not really overly relevant to the story progression. It's just that it's an RPG. You like to create a character how you want to create it. And if that's what you want to have, then that's what you want to have. And it doesn't ram it down your throat like some other games have.
Yeah, nice. Final question from me, Bully. Are you looking toward it for a platinum? Is that something that you see on the horizon, or not so much?
I'd like to put probably another 10 or 15 hours into it. I think it'll be one that I'll go through and play and finish. Whether, I suppose the thing is with a lot of RPGs, it depends on where you are when you're getting close to it, like how many trophies you pop, how much grind there is in it, how many missables there are. I don't think there is, apart from what I've seen, there's 2 or 3 character development and story choices that you make through your narrative choice that may impact the platinum. But apart from that, everything's pretty much unmissable. So it might be one of those. I think I looked at it, was that estimation was about 80 hours or something similar to that. So
nice.
We'll see how I go when I finish the story, and if I'm still enjoying it, I'll might go back in there and mop it up.
Perfect. Any final points from you, Ace, or shall we move on?
No, look, it's sort of one of those games that's sort of sitting on the fringe there that I am interested in. Obviously, sort of reading a lot of like internet blogs and pages and watching a lot of YouTube videos from gamers. Like you're seeing a very stark difference between opinions based on both sides. Like there's sort of a lot of people are sort of saying the story is very linear. Sort of the way that you can move through the maps is sort of feels very compressed. A lot of the combat I'm hearing is very repetitive, but then on some people are hearing that it's very sort of open world and the combat's quite refreshing. So I'm sort of waiting to see what the dust settles, and obviously sort of what Bully said tonight sort of probably tweak my interest a little bit more. So look, it's probably going to be one of those things that I'll probably wait until it's on special one day and I see for $50 and nothing else is out, and so I'll probably buy it.
Yeah, nice. And sorry, Bully, now I do have one final question. The Metacritic score, we looked at it last week, and from memory, I think you said it was 85 or 86. Just wondering, to Ace's point, a lot more reviews have come out during the week. Has it moved that score any direction at all, or is it still sitting about where it was last time?
I'll have a look, but just to Ace's point in relation to the maps, to me it's actually really refreshing in terms of an RPG that you don't have these big sprawling maps that are a lot of the times just empty and devoid of anything to do, and you just end up running around from point to point. I actually don't mind that it's somewhat compressed maps. It still has things within that map that you can go and find off the beaten track a little bit. There's certainly areas that you can get to through puzzle solving or various other ways. But I've actually found it refreshing that you sort of go, okay, this is the area that you're in. This is where you need to go to, and that's it for that section. And then you go back to your main hub, and then you work on, okay, this is where we're going next. And I've actually really enjoyed it. Still sitting at 83 on Metacritic.
Oh, okay, there we have it. Very good. Excellent. Let's move along to the final game, Game 5 this evening. And it's over to you, Ace, for your recent cowboy adventures. Red Dead Redemption 2, mate. How are things?
Jeez, I might have already mentioned this. Did I already talk about it? So, like, I don't know what it took into me. I might have been seeing a few videos on YouTube where they were sort of mentioning a few little hidden treats. Am I going to get it right? Tricks and treats that you might find along the beaten path. And so I decided to reload this up the other day. And I must tell you, like, wow, this game has held up amazingly well. Like,
It sure has.
just from like such the nuanced things like the grass, the way the trees move, the way the animals move when you sort of get in their scent path. And I just completely forgot sort of what a great game this was. So decided to sort of jump back into it, even jumped back online for a little bit of exploration, sort of ran around there for a little bit, but just I actually decided to restart the story. And I found like sort of straight away when I went back to Arthur Morgan as the lead character and sort of you're in the snowfields and like going through all that. And I'm like, oh, you know, like, it was just like almost euphoric of what a great experience I had on the first time. So I'm actually really enjoying just playing it through. I'm going to go back through the story again. Look, it does take up a big chunk of your hard drive, but you know, for the fact that I can just have it there, and it's the sort of game that you can sort of jump in and do a mission for half an hour. You can jump back out, or you can just jump in. I think I found myself playing poker for about an hour the other night. Got completely slaughtered. Couldn't win a hand. Guy took me for
I got
about
a few
40.
tips for you if you want.
Yeah, guy took me for about $45. Anyway, that was at my end game when I played back through, and I had about 16 grand cash, so I didn't mind losing a little bit to that guy, old Joe, I think his name was. But
You didn't
yeah,
stand up from the table at the end, shoot him, and get your money back.
That would have been probably a better outcome. But yeah, like just even like the little things, even like the murdering thing. I went back, I forgot about like the pulling the mask up, and when you pull the mask up, like you know how you can then rob things. I was going back through like old medals and challenges that I hadn't finished on my previous game. So then I started like running around doing those challenges. I started riding around, getting new horses, upgrading horses. I was just like, man, this game, like you forget how deep this game was. And I think Bully, you said 2003, no, not
2018.
2018. Wow, this game's been around for, you know, near on a decade. And, you know, it's just absolute, well, it is a decade, isn't it? It's absolutely astounding that it holds up. And I was saying before, like, you know, I was playing Space Marines 2, which is, I thought was like quite graphically good, and sort of in the environments and everything, how that all moved sort of was amazing as well. But then you go back into this, you know, a game that's what, 11 years old, and you're like, it just goes to show sort of how far Rockstar were ahead of everybody.
Yep.
And, you know, I can't wait, you know, and now all the videos and stuff are like the stuff's coming to drop out about Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yep.
So I'm super excited, and, you know, this is a great dip into the past, and I love it when you go back to an old game that you thought, how good was that? And usually a lot of the time you get let down when you go back to those old games, but I definitely didn't feel that with this one.
No, and this is the exact opposite to what Bully was just saying about Veilguard. The facial animations on a 6-year-old game are top notch. They don't miss a beat.
Something I noticed with this one that, like, really I was quite sort of back from. I didn't think about it, because a lot of the times when you play in the game and they'll cut to a cutscene, and so the graphics sort of enhance for the cutscene, and then it'll go back to the game. But
you're about to see that very transition now. Keep going.
It's absolutely seamless. Like, the game plays the cutscenes, so like there's no transition. You never remove from the character. You never remove from the game. You're in it. You're in the cutscene, and then the guy, like usually Arthur Morgan, like, right, I'll go and handle it, and then he'll walk off, and then you just seamlessly go back into the game. Like, it's just astounding that the Rockstar was that far ahead of everybody. Still now, I don't think there is a game, maybe you could say sort of God of War, sort of in their ability to transition you from movie cutscene to game mode back in.
The Last of Us would be another good nom.
Yeah. Like these little things, these little tweaks that these developers do. Like, I think it's just the sort of things that keep gamers involved in the game and keep them playing. And it also adds to the amount of time that you spend in the game, because if you don't feel like you're getting jerked out and pushed back in, then jerked out and pushed back in, sorry, that's another OnlyFans reference, you're able to just sort of sit there, and then next thing you know, you spent 3-4 hours and you haven't really achieved much, except you've gone through a couple of cutscenes and completed a few missions, but you've enjoyed every minute of it. So, you know, again, I think for me, this game, when it originally came out, was a 10 out of 10. And I think it's still a 10 out of 10. So congratulations to you, Rockstar. Absolutely love your job.
I agree completely. Phenomenal. 2 thumbs up, obviously, from me. Bully, anything from your side on the old Red Dead 2?
No, fantastic game. Although I will point out, while you were running that footage, Troy, my young fella did come in as you were setting up and said, "Oh, he doesn't have the alligator skin outfit. What's going on?" So he's one up there. The only thing I will say, and as you said, Ace, is, you know, Rockstar are, you know, miles ahead in terms of their game development. You could drop this game tomorrow and it'd probably be, you know, we'd be singing its praises in terms of how it looks and all the rest of it. When I spoke before, we were talking about Dragon Age, a lot of RPGs and a lot of games just have these worlds that are for the vast majority of it, they're just empty, and it's you going from point A to point B. There might be the occasional thing. The thing I really loved about Red Dead 2 was that you could take off in any direction, and you would find something. Whether it was an abandoned old house, whether it was a homestead, whether it was an animal a rare animal or a fishing spot that was going to attack you, or even just the side of a road that you'd have a broken down cart and someone would come over and want to talk to you, and then that might lead to something else, or you might get robbed, or just that world building that they create in Red Dead. I've never seen it in another game, Grand Theft Auto included. They do it. The world they build is good. The way they've done it in Red Dead is, another tier above again. I don't think I've ever seen it in any other game.
It feels alive. The game feels alive.
Yeah.
It is playing, and you're just part of it, and like you feel like these things are happening anyway, regardless of whether you even went to that location, because the way that you'll seamlessly just hear like, "Oi, help, help," and there's some dude stuck in a tree, like cougars trying to kill him, and you're just like, "Oh, cool!" Like, I'll shoot the dude and I'll feed the cougar. Like, there's so many like, I just Anyway, if you haven't played this game in a while, please re-download it, reinstall it. You will thoroughly enjoy it, and you feel like you're playing a next gen game on an old gen game on the next gen console. So, great job.
Any word, Bully, for it? Well, I was about to say, Bully, any word for
PS5 Pro announcement, and it'll be all good.
Did you say PS5 pronoun? No, hopefully.
Oh, hang on. Are we doing it?
Stand down.
All right, instead of getting stuck in the mud, how about we kick in a newsroom door?
I'll just get the big
that is all kinds of wrong. That's right, though. Bully, over to you. News story one, please.
News story one, just while Ace takes a bit of a moment. The Nintendo Switch 2, we did hear there's been sort of rumors going back and forth. We did speak about the possible release date being revealed in the next week or two. Sadly, that hasn't happened yet. I think I did see Nintendo was still talking that at some stage between now and April next year, we will get a release date of some description. Whether it comes out then, who knows? But the interesting thing, and I think really pivotal, really, going forward for the Switch 2 is that it is going to be backwards compatible with the Switch 1. So I think there was a bit of angst sort of going back and forth, and how big of an issue it would be for Nintendo if they didn't make it backwards compatible, given that the original Switch has been a phenomenal success, and in the game collecting or the physical game collecting community, the Switch has been very high up in terms of the collectability of it, and a lot of the special editions or limited run games that are only coming to the Switch have made it really compelling for people to collect for. So the fact that they're actually making it backwards compatible, I should say, I think it's a wise move from Nintendo.
Definitely.
If they didn't, I think they would almost be in that same sort of boat of the Wii to the Wii U. And even though that was backwards compatible, that the mess of transition between those two consoles really cost them. And the sales reflected that. So I think they really needed to get that right. And if that's their line of thinking going forward is to bring in as many people as we can while still providing their next generation console, I think that's something that they've done right. And hopefully we find out some more about it in the near future.
Jeff Keighley, do you think maybe Game Awards announcement?
I don't know, because Nintendo normally like to do their own sort of thing. They have their own directs and do it in their own time. They don't seem to be, driven by the wills or the wants of others. So, hopefully we get something before the end of the year. But at the end of the day, if they've got a release window, it doesn't matter whether they announce it now or a week before they release it. I think the good oil is April-ish next year. So, if they announce it in March, well, who really cares? If it's coming out in April, well, it's coming out in April. It doesn't matter when you announce it. I ain't going to change it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Ace, any thoughts from your good self on the upcoming Switch 2, or should we move along to story 2?
Well, as long as there's a new Breath of the Wild, I'll be all in.
I love it. Backwards compatibility confirmed. All right, not Ace at all. Bully, story 2, please, sir.
Story 2. So we have one that we've spoken about, and one that has also got the PS5 Pro treatment and update, is that developers at the much troubled Ubisoft's release of Star Wars Outlaws, which is mixed reviews is probably the best way to put it. I've actually minded my time with it, but they're releasing a patch that is said to be quite significant. And one of the big areas is the combat, to add extra depth and
Does this mean you can't just punch a stormtrooper in the helmet with a bare fist and knock him out?
Well, hopefully.
That was out of control. Who is this chick?
Well, what they're talking about adding in or refining the tactics and the precision. So hopefully that sort of leads into that. And the second one is the improvement of the stealth mechanic, which I haven't had really any issues of it, but I've seen videos and spoken to other people that have really that stealth element has really bugged them and has caused them to drop out of the game. They've enjoyed the rest of it, but the stealth sections they've really struggled with, and the detection or the ability of the enemy to detect you as you're trying to stealth through there has been wildly inconsistent. So
the non-detection, you mean?
Or well, it goes both ways. It's either it doesn't detect you when you're almost standing in front of them, or you'll be 50 meters away hiding behind a crate and they'll see you. So I think it's sort of gone both ways depending on how your experience is. That's dropping on November 21st. So hopefully, we get some improvements there. And it's funnily enough, that's the same date as they're dropping their first lot of story DLC too, which is Wildcard. So hopefully that improves the experience. It's funny going through some of those videos with the PS5 Pro as well. I did see one where someone had jumped back into Outlaws and said that the upscaling of the graphics and the way it now plays has reinvigorated their enjoyment of it. So hopefully that with the patch, gets it to where it probably should have been at release, 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, nice. I've said it before, but just quickly reiterate, I played the game for 2 hours on Xbox through the Ubisoft Plus subscription thing or whatever, so it cost me 23 yams, but after 2 hours of gameplay, I just had no interest in continuing and moved on. So, but maybe from what you've just said, maybe I could come back to checking it out at some point after, November 21st, you said?
Yep.
Excellent. Story 3, please, Bully. Kicking another door, mate.
Story 3. So we did speak about a Dragon Age, and Ace did briefly mention the Steam numbers there, but the peak at this stage is 70,000 odd concurrent players in the first 24 hours.
Is that across all platforms?
That's on Steam, sorry. So Steam concurrent 70,000, which, as you said, is well below some other games. But funnily enough, it does make it BioWare's most successful launch window game. Their previous best was the Mass Effect's Legendary Edition, which had all 3 of the games, which hit a peak of 60-odd thousand. So it's actually not that bad overall, I don't think. I think there was probably a lot of reluctance from people to jump onto it to start with. And I think once the word of mouth starts spreading around a little bit, you might end up getting more people involved and it'll jump up from there. Certainly that was the case with the original Mass Effect. I know that there was not a lot known about it other than the fact that it was a BioWare sort of space game, and then the word of mouth sort of spread that one.
I wonder with a lot of these games, sorry to cut you off, but like the target audience I would feel is that sort of, let's say mid-30s to early 40s. Like that seems to be like the sort of the generation that grew up with the PlayStation, the PS2, the PS3, and moved on to the PS4. Now, it's probably not a far stretch to sort of say a lot of those people are sort of in that homeowners sort of territory. Interest rates and all those sorts of things have sort of skyrocketed. Price of living has sort of skyrocketed. That these sorts of the things that sort of stop people going, oh, well, that's a day one purchase. And like I know myself, being in the mortgage territory, that, now I've got to be quite selective. So I actually take my time sort of and waiting for reviews, when speaking to guys like you who play games and stuff, to sort of before I just sort of make that decision, like, because, $80 is $80, and, it might be 100, whatever it is, wherever you're buying it. So I wonder whether that's affected its sales sort of globally in the current market that we're living in.
That's a fair point. Sorry, Billy.
No, I reckon that's, as you said, Troy, that's a fair point. Plus, I question really probably the release of it as well. So it came out about a week ago. We're talking, and they're different games, mine, but you're releasing it right in the peak window of some massive releases. We saw Call of Duty.
Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, Vampire Survivors. We saw Call of Duty come out the week before that. Now, I think at this stage,
Have you got what?
People would, or most companies and developers would have learned, get out of the way of Call of Duty, because if you've got limited income and limited capacity to buy games, the money's going towards Call of Duty more often than not. Get out of that window, delay it by a couple of weeks, or bring it forward by a month, and get it out of that space of Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's funny, man. You've just prompted me. The biggest people to suffer from it were EA themselves a couple of years back with Battlefield 2142. Or 20.
They tried to go head to head.
They went week in the same release week as Call of Duty, and they just got demolished. And it's funny that they've repeated that. They didn't learn anything, apparently.
No, well, this goes back even further than that, because Titanfall 2,
great pull.
Released in a week. I think in the same week they released that, plus one of the Battlefield games, and that they both came out. Not even a week before Call of Duty, and it just pulverized both of those games. So, clearly haven't learnt their lesson. I would have thought bring it forward to September or October at the latest. If you can't because of your development time schedule, whatever it is, push it out. Get it out late November.
21st may have been a better call when that patch is ready to roll.
Yeah, potentially. Or I would have thought, late November, early December. You still get it in before the Christmas window. You get it out the window of some of these big, massive releases. But I'm sort of the same as you, Ace. So I generally, as a general rule, I'm not massive day one, but for some reason I've just got swept up in the hype of some of the releases this year. In the last month or so that I've sort of been jumping on them, but I'm sort of the same as you. Unless it's something that really grabs me, I'm generally not day one, and we'll wait a couple of weeks or a couple of months until the price drops, and then at that point you've got the patches into it, you've got a good understanding of how the game is, you've seen the reviews and all the rest of it. You can make a probably more informed decision, but I don't know. I just think. I just question the timing of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
To your note, like going head to head with the Call of Duty, where people, if you're sitting there at JB or wherever you are, EB Games, wherever it is, and you're sitting there and you're holding those two games, like a lot of these people play online competitive Call of Duty, and it's imperative that you get in day one.
Yeah.
Because you need to get those upgrades, you need to get to the next gun so that you can continually be competitive. So, whereas a game like this, you can pick it up at any stage, and you're not competing against anyone. There's no combat system. You're going to earn the rewards on your own because it's a single player game. So the moment that you come up against a big multiplayer game where you need to get into it, and you need to get into it quick, and you need to start pushing hours in, you're always going to get slaughtered. And I think we're in a different day and age where distributors and publishers, and they need to sort of look at these things and go, geez, maybe we shouldn't be like you guys have reiterated. We shouldn't be going head to head with the Call of Duty, because people are going to go to that because they don't want to miss out on that 6 weeks. And then when they do load into it after they're finished with Veilguard, they're going to be 6 weeks behind, and they're going to be struggling to move up those levels and get all those weapons and upgrades.
Yeah, great point, mate. All right, Billy, news story 4, please.
News story 4, just a quick one here, but a bit of a tease for Resident Evil 9. So
I think you mean Resident Evil 9.
I'll go the OnlyFans on this one and swallow the microphone.
Oh, there we go.
But yeah, they've been on a bit of a red hot tear lately with the Resident Evil series. Capcom, 7 and 8 received pretty good reviews. Were both a bit of a departure in that they were first person. But even the releases and the remakes have been doing of 2, 3, and 4 have been pretty
notch.
well received. And I'll jump back into number 4 on the Pro this afternoon, and still looks
How was it?
fantastic. Looks fantastic. Plays
Loads quicker.
fantastic. It's funny you mentioned that. I didn't mention it before. The load times on the Pro, I don't know if you've noticed, Troy, significantly quicker.
Yes, noticeably quicker.
Significantly.
And I'm trying to remember now. As I said, I only played Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. And I'm blanking now because I'm not sure whether it was a PS5 Pro menu setting or it was specifically in that game. But there was a toggle option for, do you want the loading screens to remain up so you can read the tooltip, or do you want them to disappear as soon as possible? I'm like,
oh, I didn't even notice that.
Why even ask me? Of course, disappear and get me back into the game as quick as possible.
I'll have to jump on that. But I was going through the Resi 4, what are the challenge ones? Where you got to survive. And the load time on that, I reckon, was about 2 seconds.
I love me those challenges. I'm going to have to check it out after the show.
The load screen comes up. No sooner as the load screen come up, but it's saying press X to continue. And I think this is fantastic.
Yeah, nice.
But I did get sidetracked there. There's some news coming out at Resident Evil 9 suggesting that Leon Kennedy and Jill Valentine will be the main playable characters and possibly set in an abandoned hospital, caves, forest, a factory, and a temple. So it sounds to me that they're almost revisiting the Resi 4 style setup where you sort of go from area to area to area with obviously Leon and Jill from Resi 2. So I can't wait for it. I'm hoping it comes out sooner rather than later, but if they continue on the same trend as 2, 3, and 4, surely they're onto another winner with 9.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get some details of it at some point. And
Jeff Keatley, looking at you.
Fingers crossed for a release next year at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it doesn't try to go head to head with GTA 6. That'd be a mistake.
I'd get out of that 6-month window, let alone a 6-day window.
Indeed. All right, it's time for the new segment with the new bumper. GTA. No, we're G.E.A. Most Wanted. Bully, what is the most wanted game this week, please, sir?
We've got a couple coming out. So a couple that have bumped on my radar are Lego Horizon Adventures, which is coming out next week. A bit of a side note, Flint Treasures of Origin, which is one that I spoke about a couple of weeks ago, Troy, that I was looking forward to and put that down as my most wanted. Actually got delayed till next week. So there you go. There's that one coming out as well. And as I scroll down, I think there was one other half decent one if I can find it. No, I can't. So we'll just move on to my most wanted for this coming week is the Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, which is a long time coming. Very difficult to play the original version of it. I think it only came out, it's a 35, 40-year-old game as it stands anyway, but very difficult to get on Western consoles, especially in Australia here. So I'm really looking forward to it. It does look fantastic from a graphical standpoint. The backgrounds, as you can see there, look fantastic. The sprites of the main characters look fantastic. And if you're wondering why they've gone with Dragon Quest 3 to start with and not gone with 1 and 2, they are doing 1 and 2 as well. It's just the way the story plays out chronologically. The story from 3 precedes 1 and 2. So they've sort of redone it that way to play the story more in a chronological order rather than a development order. So it does make sense if you play it that way. From my understanding, I think I read somewhere that 1 and 2 remakes may be coming early next year as well. So if you want to play it the original way, wait another 6 months. You can play 1 and 2, which are coming out as a set, and then jump into 3. But certainly I'm really looking forward to this. Love myself some RPG and some Dragon Quest action. So that's next Thursday. I think that's out.
Nice work, mate. I'm not going to fight you at all this week. I love it. Well played. Now, let's move on to audience interrogation. Bully, what, if anything, has been happening in their YouTube chat, please?
Not much. So I think we might have run
Have
into a
I hit
little
a
bug.
wrong button again?
Oh, I'm not sure if you've hit a little button or we've run into a little bug, which occasionally happens. But our regulars haven't been in there, so I think that's what the issue is. Unless there's something on my end.
No,
but-
there's every chance I hit a wrong button. I kind of forgot to do it till late and then rushed through it.
No, that's all good. So hopefully, if you've missed out this week, you had a question for us, jump in next week. We'll actually
Yeah,
jump onto our OnlyFans.
Jump onto the OnlyFans. Jump it in 2 weeks' time for episode 100. So we're making sure that we've got everyone available for that in 2 weeks' time. We'll be jumping into that and skipping next week. So just be aware of that one. But in 2 weeks' time, join us for episode 100 and jump into that chat.
Woo!
And we will answer any questions that you had. Even if they were for this week, I'm happy to jump in there and answer them as well.
Great work, mate. And obviously, episode 100, the big one, as Bully's just said, not next week. The following week, there'll be no G.E.A. next week. But when we do come back, it's me, it's Unky Dunky, and it's Bully. And we've all got the PS4, 5 Pros. We'll have had it for 2 weeks under our belt. So it'll be a big deep dive into all our hands-on impressions from all the various titles they've upgraded for the PS5 Pro. Please look forward to that. For now, though, we are off duty. Ace, great work tonight, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us and filling in the second slot for Unky Dunky.
Yeah, feel free to sign up to my OnlyFans, Ace's Only Toes. It's live now, and it's a minimum subscription, $15 a week, and you'll get a lot of my toes. So jump on in.
Excellent footwork there. Good on you. Bully, excellent work third, slotting it all evening, holding us up beautifully, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad to see you saluting me, Ace, but there will be no toes, stomachs, chests, any...
You're my first subscriber. What are you talking about?
Hey?
You're my first subscriber.
No, I'll subscribe. You're just not getting anything out of me.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of the Gaming Enforcement Agency. Keep your eye across Geek Aloud for the Let's Install series. As I said, today's first one for the PS5 Pro went up. Bully, what else could you do with Geek Aloud?
Like it, subscribe it. You'll never miss it.
Oh, that was luck. Hey, that's something. Oh! Old Uncle Donkey. Donkey.